Well, love him or hate him, Rush Limbaugh is the king of conservative talk radio. 20 million people listen to him each week on close to 600 stations across the country. He's also written a new children's book called Rush Revere and the Star-Spangled Banner. Rush Limbaugh joins us now from his EIB studios in Florida. And Rush, welcome back to Fox News Sunday.
Hey, it's great to be with you, Chris. It really is. And by the way, everybody listens to me, loves me. There is no hate. This is a great, great, great misnomer.
I know, but there's some people who don't listen to you. Those are the ones I was talking about. Anyway.
Oh, no. Even the ones who disagree listen. They're the ones who hate, and they're the ones who need a reason for it each and every day. And I'm happy to provide it. Full service shop here, going into our 28th year. So I pinch myself each and every day. I have the chance to do it, and it's a thrill to be here with you, as always.
Thank you for that. I want to start with a new song that you played on your show Friday from a group that you called Barack Hussein O and the Jihadi Singers. Here's a clip.
That's exactly right.
ISIS is just all right with me. ISIS has been contained, oh yeah. ISIS is just all right with me. ISIS the JV team.
You were rocking along as we were playing it. I know it's a parody, but I'm sure one with a point. What are you saying about President Obama's strategy toward ISIS?
I don't think he's got a strategy that deals with ISIS. I think Obama's strategy, best I've been able to learn, and I've looked really hard at this, it seems to me that Obama's linked to Iran and Syria in this. The sectarian violence throughout the Middle East is his excuse for not doing anything about it. Iran capitalizes on all of this chaos and crisis. And Chris, I don't like saying any of this, but it's obvious that Obama is very sensitive to Iran's needs and is trying to satisfy them. We've lifted the sanctions. They've got $150 billion they didn't have. They're on the way to get a nuclear weapon, all because of Barack Hussein O. And I think his dealing with ISIS is inept and incompetent and non-existent.
All right. So what would you do? How would you destroy ISIS?
Well, in the first place, I would get some people around me and listen to them. I would get some people around me who are experts in dealing with groups like this. For one thing, I would do, Chris, I would hit their oil. I'd hit their oil depots. I would hit their oil tankers. We're not. Do you know why we're not? Because we have rules of engagement. The administration says, well, some of the drivers might be civilians, and we can't go there. And there might be some civilians at the actual oil depots and oil wells that they've taken over. That's their primary source of revenue. I would hit that, and I wouldn't care. Chris, the world is governed by the aggressive use of force. And the purpose of war and the purpose of militaries is to kill people and break things. That's how you win. And you keep doing that till the other side says, I'm sorry, and surrenders. Barack Obama's #1 enemy is the Republican Party and the conservative movement. You see, he gets animated. He doesn't need cue cards. He doesn't need teleprompter when he starts ripping into them. But when you get ISIS on the board or anything in the Middle East, very cautious, very precise, very don't want to offend them, don't want to make them mad.
Well, let me pick up on that.
I think it's very dangerous. Chris, I think it's really dangerous. I think the country's in more danger than people know.
Let me pick up on that, because I know that you were struck, like a lot of people were, by President Obama's news conference at the G20 summit in Turkey on Monday, in which he seemed to be more upset with Republicans who want to limit Syrian refugees coming into the country than he was with the ISIS terrorists who slaughtered people in Paris. Here is the president on both of those issues.
The terrible events in Paris were obviously a terrible and sickening setback. When I hear political leaders suggesting that there would be a religious test, that's shameful. That's not American.
Rush, what do you think's going on here?
In that press conference from those sound bites you just played, he also said that he doesn't believe in all this sloganeering like providing leadership and winning. That's not. And the first time I heard him say that was in reference to Afghanistan in 2009. He said, yeah, when I hear victory, talk of victory, I think of poor Hirohito being dragged to the battleship Missouri to sign surrender papers. He's not serious, Chris. There are legitimate questions about what and who he thinks pose threats to this country and who our real enemies are. And I'm sorry, the American people is looking at latest polling data. He's got his worst marks ever on dealing with terrorism. People are scared. We've got these refugees coming in, and nobody's confident that we can vet them. And yet we're told, don't be a bigot. Don't be a racist. Don't be a xenophobe. We're none of those things, and nobody who's worried about this is. They love America. They're concerned about our security. They don't think this administration is, or at least they're not seeing any signs of it.
We do have a history, though, in this country, not only for matters of religious persecution, but also people fleeing violence in their country of taking them in as refugees. How would you handle the Syrian refugees, Rush?
Well, you know what? I'd pause it. I would put a pause on it right now, and I would, again, I don't profess to be an expert in everything. I'm an expert in a lot of things, Chris, but not everything. And in this case, I'd get some people who can tell me how best to do this. We paused refugees being allowed to enter the country in 2011. You know who did it? Barack Hussein O. There was a 6-month pause on Iraqi refugees for the very same reason people are worried about the Syrian refugees today. Look, I have friends who are Syrians. I play golf with them. They're great people. This is not about that. It's not about bigotry or racism or anti-ethnics or against certain nationalities. It's about the defense and protection of the United States of America and our Constitution, which is what is the primary job of the President of the United States. And again, he just doesn't seem to be oriented in that direction or interested in it. It's almost as though he thinks that we've committed all these crimes since our founding. We're unjust and immoral, and it's time for payback. It's time for us to find out what the rest of the world goes through every day. It's time for us to bite the bullet. I think it's really troubling. I'm having to bite my lip here, what I really think. I think it's
well, what do you really think?
Really devastating. I think we are a great nation at risk in a dangerous world, and the people leading the country today don't see that. They see us as the problem, not the solution. They think that we are responsible for some of these problems. They'll fall back and blame George W. Bush for what's going on. ISIS didn't exist when Bush left.